Frankly, Putin may be the easiest of them all. As far as I'm concerned, a competitor. It's a competitor. I think that getting along with Russia, getting along with China, getting along with others is a good thing, not a bad thing.
All right, the president earlier, before leaving for Europe, indicating that of all the events he has planned, including meeting with NATO allies and the Prime Minister of Britain and a host of other folks, the easiest time he may have is that sit-down with Vladimir Putin. And that's coming up next Monday. The read on all of that with Chuck Nash, the retired Navy captain, served this country very, very honorably. Captain, very good to have you. What do you make of that? The president is more or less like saying, I'm going to get a lot of grief maybe from these other guys, maybe less from that guy. What do you think?
Maybe less from that guy because, you know, President Trump is somebody who's used to negotiating and dealing with people who are decision makers. And in a lot of cases, it's more difficult to get things done with free societies like our NATO allies than it is in a more dictatorial society like Russia. If he makes a deal with Putin, he knows he's going to be able to hold Putin accountable for that decision. When he talks to Theresa May, she may not even be in office in the next 2 weeks. So is she going to try to do something? Is Angela Merkel going to try to do something? They're in free societies. Putin is not.
That's an interesting read. I would imagine, too, he's just as much talking about the grief he's gotten from allies, particularly NATO members, who don't like being called out for being cheapskates or not forking over enough dough to make their defense commitments. And he's just called their bluff. Now, other presidents, and you reminded me in the past of both parties, have urged the same, that you know, more NATO members pay up their share. But they never have, so the president's taking this approach. What do you make of that?
Well, you've got 8 NATO countries, the UK among them, that are actually standing up to their 2% commitment.
Right.
The rest are not. So he is going to, I think, put some leverage on them. The danger that he has is overplaying that hand, in that it's going, if he makes it look like he's pressuring the leadership of these free societies to go back and start, quote, kowtowing to an American president, that won't play well domestically for those guys. So he's going to have to balance that. And there are some who have suggested that maybe it's time to declare victory in that realm and move on.
But, you know, that leaves 21 countries that aren't paying their fair share. And I understand all of this works and that a lot of countries will give excuses for not paying up. But some have anticipated the president is going to take this, ratchet up to the next level if he just gets lip service from them, that he might move troops around, maybe not station as many U.S. troops on the European continent, particularly Germany, or other stuff, or might not stick to the commitment. Last year, he was famous for doing this, that an attack on one NATO member represents an attack by all NATO members, and he was not eager to sign on to that. What do you make of where this is going?
I think this is his first full NATO meeting.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's going to come out of this is that he will very definitively state that the United States is fully behind Article 5, which is the Mutual Defense Treaty, part of the NATO agreement. So I think that's going to come out loud and clear.
But the other thing is, Captain, if that were the case, right, and you're, let's say, you know, holding your wallet closed, and you know the president's going to commit to that Article 5, then you have very little reason to open your wallet because the United States has your back and is going to look after you if something happens.
Well, if you don't make that commitment, the other thing is, remember, he leaves that meeting and goes to meet Vladimir Putin.
True.
And one of the things that I think the NATO allies are concerned about is, after they make whatever agreements they're going to make, and then he goes and meets Putin, he could unwind a lot of things, a lot of agreements, if he doesn't get the feeling that they're really substantial. So, in other words, he's dealing with two different things. He's dealing with the strength, trying to get the strength of his NATO allies and balance that against what he might get as concessions from Vladimir Putin. And that trade space is what makes the NATO allies nervous. And it is probably what is making Putin do his homework on what he is really going to ask for when they meet.
Well, they all seem to be nervous, so maybe to that end he's succeeding. Chuck Nash, thank you very, very much. Good seeing you again.
Nice being with you, Neil.